crazy to think that Starfield has now been out for over 6 months, and throughout its time since release, it has been getting a ton of mixed reviews, with most of these reviews slamming the game for being an absolute mess. So with the game being out for over 6 months now, what has changed, and is Starfield worth picking up now, or is it still an absolute disappointment? This video might shock you. I've got over 80 hours on Starfield and I picked it up when it first released, but I decided to return to it recently to see if it's worth playing and worth your time. So let's find out. Updates. So with Starfield being out for over 6 months now, it's received a ton of updates such as quality of life improvements and fixes to make the game more stable. Starfield will be getting all new big updates soon, which include the long-awaited surface maps, ship decorations, 60 FPS on console, and much more. Some of these most recent updates to Starfield are being able to set expressions and poses for your player and companions in photo mode, but most of these just make your companions look like an absolute sausage. The poses and expressions that have been added are limited, so it's nothing to shout and rave about whatsoever, but I will admit it is a nice quality of life improvement that has been added to the game, since you can use these to get some really pretty screenshots. During my first playthrough of Starfield on PC, I never stopped taking screenshots because I thought the game was really pretty. So with these new poses and expressions, I can imagine you can get some really cool shots yourself. In addition to the improvements to photo mode, you can now open doors and harvest with the scanner opened, which might not seem significant, but it was a ball ache when you had to exit the scanner to open a door to then re-enter the scanner to resume what you were doing. Again, nothing to scream and shout about, but it's still a nice little improvement. You can now adjust the field of view when using third-person ship view, which should have been in the game from the get-go and not have been added 6 months later. Like, Bethesda, what the hell took you so long? But whoever at Bethesda decided to add this update to Starfield right now is a true hero and deserves a pay rise. Speaking of improvements to the ship gameplay, the ship UI has been updated to perform more smoothly at higher frame rates, but in all honesty, I haven't been able to notice this yet, even when I played this game at 100 plus FPS on PC. There were some other recent quality of life updates, but nothing significant that is worth mentioning. So let's ask the question on everyone's mind. Is Starfield still riddled with bugs? Well, bugs. Yes, the bugs are still there, but I will admit they are not as common anymore. But that is from what I can tell from my experience. I haven't experienced any groundbreaking bugs on PC, and there hasn't been anything that has broken my immersion, other than Andrea magically climbing an invisible ladder, but I will give her the benefit of doubt. She did give me a present, so I can't really be mad at her.
Here, I have something for you. Yes. Well, it seemed like a good idea. I saw it earlier and thought you might like it. Or find it useful. Or, well, whatever. Until next time.
There is a game-breaking bug that still exists since release, that if the player is in space and attempts to fast travel to a planet or a space station from this location, they are unable to do so. So the player is basically stuck in space forever on that save. It's like the player is experiencing a shitty written version of Interstellar, and we're all Matthew McConaughey crying in space and no one can hear us. Now, I know most people will just say, save often during your time playing Starfield, and yes, that works, since if you experience a game-breaking bug, you can revert to a recent save and continue forward with hopefully avoiding that bug then. But the player shouldn't have to be doing this if they have paid for the game that is still listed at £60. It's just outrageous. If you pay for the game at this price and it's not in early access, then the player should expect a complete game with a seamless, entertaining, immersive experience without any game-breaking bugs like this. It's just wrong. Yet that is unfortunately where the gaming industry is nowadays, and it's something that developers need to immediately improve on moving forward. Yes, I am looking at you, Bethesda Game Studios. However, as I said before, when I played Starfield again recently, I really encountered bugs, and when I did experience some of these bugs, they didn't really break my immersion or destroy my playing experience.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a nice idea. Any objections, Walter?
No, I think this is a fine idea.
Graphics. The game has also received a significant amount of graphical improvements, but they all seem very minor and something that the casual player wouldn't even notice. Playing Starfield again, I didn't have any complaints about the graphics, and I actually think this game is somewhat pretty. Don't get me wrong, this game is nowhere as graphically impressive as Cyberpunk, but it still looks like a next-gen game, especially when you visit certain planets. The NPCs could still do with a bit of work, since they do look as bland as Weetabix. However, it seems like they have improved the weird eyes they had. If you didn't notice on release, all of the NPCs that would roam the different world hubs looked like deers caught in headlights, but now they actually look quite normal. So now that the developers have fixed the weird eyes the NPCs had, they now need to definitely work on adding more detail. It doesn't need to be drastic changes, but just adding a bit more detail to them to give them more life would be greatly appreciated by the players.
One day, I'm gonna go to Parima and see the Red Mile live.
Story. So when I first played Starfield in September last year and focused on completing the game, I actually really enjoyed the main quest line. I know that might come as a surprise to most of you, but I actually thought it was done really well. It didn't blow my mind and make my jaw drop to the floor, but I did enjoy the mystery that the story had and how you had to search for the truth about the universe. I also have to give credit to Bethesda Game Studios for making the concept of the New Game Plus super unique and something that I have never seen in a game before. However, for an open world RPG set in space, I don't think many players would want to do a New Game Plus in Starfield, since you do lose all your progress and weapons. I think the only type of players that the New Game Plus would appeal to is those who really enjoyed the story and want to keep experiencing it over and over again with all of their abilities and skills they unlocked in their previous playthrough. I still think 6 months later the main quest line is still good, but I have found myself having more enjoyment from some of the side quests, such as the one where you have to work for Ryujin Industries. If you haven't done this side quest yet, I can't emphasize enough that you really need to play it. It's just so good and one of the best side quests I have ever played in a game. If you have played this side quest, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of it. Outside the main story and side quests, I still think that the game offers fun and exciting gameplay, and definitely a huge improvement in comparison to previous BGS titles such as Fallout 4. The game doesn't feel clunky at all, and it feels like we're playing a modern day release. The gunplay is very satisfying and the sound design of each weapon is done really well. I haven't done too much melee combat in Starfield, but I imagine it to be okay at best. I can't comment about the base building in this game because I haven't touched it yet, but the ship customization is wildly impressive, and I have probably spent over 6 hours making my ships look as cool as possible. Planet exploration needs improvement, since when you travel to random planets in the universe, there really isn't much to do on each planet other than the random events that occur on them. After you've visited a handful of planets, you do start to experience the same random events over and over again, and you do see the same structures that you saw on another planet. I think one improvement that they could add to planet exploration is adding more unique random events on each planet, and the odds of some of these more unique random events occurring are slim. So is Starfield really a disappointment 6 months after it was released? Well, Starfield does do a lot of things really well, and other things not so well. If you can look past the minor bugs and the constant loading screens when you enter a different area, then I think Starfield is definitely worth your time. It's definitely not as bad as people make it out to be, and it baffles me that most people's opinion on Starfield has completely changed from what they thought of the game when it first came out. It's like most people have followed the crowd on the common take on Starfield, which is the shit on it, but I think it's a great game. I will admit Starfield still needs more updates to make the playing experience the best it can be for everyone who plays this game, and it also seriously needs the Creation Club added ASAP so people on console can start modding their game. So is Starfield worth the price point of £60? I'd say if you were planning on picking up Starfield, if you do not own it already, then I would wait for it to go on sale or play it on Xbox Game Pass. If I was to purchase this game for the first time, the most I'd be willing to pay is about £40 to £35. Let me know what you think of Starfield if you've played it or haven't played it in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So that is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.